Hey guys, how's it going? It's Chris here. Welcome to a review for my EMG Falkor Blitz. Now, if you haven't seen the unboxing or the shooting test of this video, I would highly recommend you guys check that out in the description below or in the iCards that should be popping up on screen here soon. A couple months ago when I was getting back into Airsoft, I was checking out some guns and I came across the Falkor Blitz and I looked at the price tag and I checked out the specs and I looked at everything and I thought, you know what, that looks like a nice gun for me. That looks like something that I personally can resonate with. Given the style, the look, and the feel of the gun, I was definitely convinced I would like this gun. And I am. I do like this gun. I like this gun a lot. You know, honestly, there's a lot of drawbacks. There's a lot of stuff that people like to talk about. First off, I want to mention that it is APS internals. If you don't know, they have a bad reputation. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know people do not like APS internals. People say how cheap it is, how much they underperform, how they break, how they need to be replacing, and how you might as well just don't get it if you're going to bother upgrading it because, I mean, you can buy it pre-upgraded. So APS internals is a big downside for a lot of people. However, from what I've heard from a lot of other reviewers, because I've watched plenty of other review videos about this gun before and after purchasing it, that APS did a good job with the internals in this gun. And honestly, it performs very well. The gun itself has a lot of positives and a lot of negatives, but first off, let me go over some of these specs. Now, as you can clearly see, the gun has a firearm grade finish, which is super sleek and sexy, and has ambidextrous safety switches and mag releases, which is very nice, as well as the charging handle is ambidextrous, which gives a really nice stylish look to the whole thing. The muzzle brake stands out above everything else for being so stylish and unique in what it. As far as the muzzle brake is concerned, you can't get this style anywhere else unless you purchase the Falkor series. One thing I do want to say about the gun when it comes to handling it, it is extremely comfortable. I can't say, guys, I can't tell you enough how much when I just grab this gun, it just melts into your hands. It's just molded perfectly to be held, by me at least. I have kind of big hands, I've talked about it before, but this gun is just absolutely smooth as butter to hold, and I can't recommend its comfort enough. When it comes to what helps make it so comfortable, it has some finger grooves on the magwell right there. It's a flared magwell, so it's nice and expansive, but you can just grip onto that real nice and tight. Pistol style handguard right here doesn't have any finger grooves in it, but it doesn't matter, it's not needed. It has a really nice textured grip right there, so I never slip off the gun, and the trigger falls perfectly into my finger. It's just, oh, it rests so nicely. And because of its slim design, very slim design, except for the barrel cover, which is nicknamed the Fatty, as you can see, but everything else is so slim, it makes the entire gun extremely mobile and just versatile. Like, I find myself very easily, without any hindrance or over encumbrance, being able to drop it down quick, bring it up like this, hide the gun behind a tree like that, and immediately be able to snap it up. I find myself oftentimes grabbing it and kind of rotating a little bit around corners and getting my peaks, but being very capable of rotating around the corner and then snapping it forward, just snapping it straight like that to get myself a nice perfect shot, just bringing it right up into my sights. It just, everything falls into place when you hold it, and it feels so natural while you're holding the gun. I think that is one of the biggest pluses about this gun, is just how natural it feels in your hands. I can't explain it enough. Now, before we get into much else when it comes to pros and cons of the gun, I want to go over a little bit of the specs for you guys, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. When it comes to the gun's FPS, straight out of the box it's shooting about 390 to 400 FPS. I'd say it rests at about the 370 range, but that's just me. I don't exactly have any tools to test that, but from feel alone, I feel like I'm getting that, because I have shot some very powerful guns and some very weak guns. So I think that the reading for the up to 400 FPS is pretty accurate. Then again, I also shot with 0.28 gram BBs, as I do. Next, when it comes to the gun length, I'm about 5'8" or 5'9". The gun is about 33.25 inches, fully collapsed, fully extended. You gain a couple more inches on that, and I don't think I would use it fully extended unless I was really engaging long distance. I need to get those shots nice and accurate, but I think it sits comfortable right about 2 or 3 clicks in, and yeah, just right about there, right about there. When it comes to the weight of the gun is basically almost all entirely full metal. I'll go over that in a second, but the gun itself weighs at about 5.75 pounds. So incredibly light. If you guys remember the review for my XR5 Star, that gun was a full polymer gun, and it weighed 7.5 pounds. This is nearly entirely full metal, and it weighs 2 pounds less than that, so you can't beat that, honestly. Next, I want to talk about the gearbox. We're running a version 2 full metal FMG Special Edition QD Spring Change Silver Edge Gearbox. That's quoted straight from the website. I don't know much about internals and their upgrades or their quality, but that's what the website says, and that sounds damn cool. So for my ignorant airsofting side, I'm going to say that sounds really cool. You're running a long type torque performance motor, and the gun operates on a 7.4 volt LiPo buffer tube battery. Now, there is something I'm trying to work on right now, and that's trying to figure out if I want to run a NIM type battery at a 9.6, which I don't like to run NIM type batteries. They're good, but I do prefer LiPo. LiPos are, grade A quality, so I do prefer LiPos, but I can't for the life of me find a buffer tube style 9.6 LiPo battery with about 30C. I can't get it, I can't find it, so I'm using a 7.4 1200 mAh Venom 30C battery in this gun, but I'm concerned and I'm confused on whether or not I want to try to get an 11.1, because I know that's going to wear away a lot of my trigger connections and it's going to wear away the gun a lot faster if I use an 11.1, but I feel like this gun, after having used it for about 4 or 5 hours total, not very much because of the season, but after having used it for about that long, I can say this gun would benefit greatly from using an 11.1 battery. But that being said, it's going to wear your internals so much, so unless you decide to go and upgrade it and get yourself a whole bunch of stuff inside, which I think I plan on doing, maybe I would just stick to the recommended 7.4 type battery, because it does work well and works fine. As long as you get yourself a decent quality battery, you shouldn't be running into any issues with the gun. Now let's go over some pros and cons to the gun. Like I said, it has a firearm grade finish, it's ambidextrous, it's sexy, sleek, it's got an awesome muzzle brake, it's comfortable, slim, light, mobile, it's got some M-LOK rails on the sides and bottom, has a lot of rail space on the top for optics and any other attachments you may need. And then as far as feel goes, the gun, like I said, feels like it shoots nice, dead-on, powerful, and accurate, and fairly consistently. I haven't run into many issues with it except for what I'm going to mention here, which is in the cons section. I recently just went, actually today, and played with the gun in the cold. It's getting winter here, so the temperature was about 30 degrees or less. Now we all know that AEGs don't perform too well in the cold. The gearbox grinds, the trigger connection isn't very good, batteries can die if you're not using a LiPo, and overall everything just kind of grinds and crunches when it gets too cold. So I wouldn't recommend using AEGs in the cold, especially full metal, because now that metal is going to be absorbing all that cold, and it's not going to be too great for the internals. When I was playing in the cold, I noticed a significant change in my hop-up. BBs were coming and just going kind of straight down. A lot of the BBs were sticking in the grouping but then shooting wildly. I couldn't get my hop-up to adjust right in the cold. And I mean, the air's dry, there was really no wind, we were in the woods, so there was a lot of wind protection, but it seemed like my BBs weren't entirely consistent, but I'm going to chalk that up to the weather, the temperature, and my battery type. Like I said, a 7.4, it's not an amazing battery, but it works for this gun. So I think because of those conditions, the gun was underperforming, but mostly I'm going to chalk it up to the cold. So I really can't wait to try this out in the summer and see how well it performs there. And then, as I mentioned before, we have the APS internals that a lot of people don't like. And again, I don't know a whole lot about it, so do your research to see if that's something you like. But remember, your opinion is your opinion. Just because people say they don't like APS doesn't mean that they're a terrible company. And like I said, from what I've heard, this gun does a good job with its APS internals on the upgrades that are installed in it. Another thing I want to mention is the price. I got this gun for $330 US. I believe it's on sale right now on evike.com for just $299. But even still, that's a pretty high price point, but it is a really nice build. Like I said, this is a gun right here that I think is going to lend itself well to getting some really, really nice upgrades. If you put some upgrades in this gun, you can have a beast. You can have an absolute beast if you put a few upgrades in this gun. You know, just swapping out the gearbox, maybe getting a flat hop in it, getting some MOSFET upgrades in there. I think that would be nice. Even just like replacing the shims and just little things like that. I think some fine tuning with somebody who knows what they're doing, not me. Somebody who knows what they're doing could definitely get this gun in such a beastly state. But as it comes out of the package, it is slightly above average for me so far. One other thing I want to mention real quick is that it doesn't have any built-in iron sights. This right here is not an iron sight. This is actually my sling mount, so don't just ignore that. But there are no iron sights at the gun. You can get yourself some Magpul iron sights. You can get yourself whatever. I obviously go straight to having a scope on it. No iron sights. That's one thing you don't have to try to take off. But then if you wanted it, you don't have it. So And then lastly, I want to mention that, like I said, it's a flared magwell, so it's nice, it's stylish, but it's also a little bit loose. I find every single one of my mags that I bought need to have a wrap or two of electrical tape to make it fit nice and snug in the magwell. That's pretty standard. A lot of guns do have a loose magwell, so you can get a bunch of varying M4 style clips in there, but this one feels pretty fairly loose. So if you were to get a magazine, I recommend getting some electrical tape wrapped around it so that way it doesn't wobble and get loose on you. Other than that, the magazines snap into place nice easy. I haven't been having much issue chambering BBs, except for one of my magazines I think was having some problems. I don't know if it was, I'm going to chalk it up to the magazine being a little bit faulty, or again, the spring being too cold in the magazine. I was using a mid-cap mag, and it was the exact same mag as the next one I used, but the first one I used, I was shooting, and I was getting one BB every 4 or 5 chambers, and then I popped out the mag and I put in a new mag, the exact same mag type, just a different magazine, and I was getting the entire magazine drained completely straight, perfectly straight, and just beautiful shooting with that magazine. So again, I'm going to chalk it up to the inconsistencies because of the cold affected the magazine. I'm not sure about that. I don't think that was a gun issue, but still something to note. Lastly, one very quick thing I forgot to mention was metal parts. You have a metal barrel, you have a metal and polymer muzzle brake, metal rail system, hard, nice injected polymer body, metal trigger, polymer foregrip, metal accessories such as a selector switch, and then you have a polymer stock with a metal buffer tube, and then you have, like, again, the internals right there. So that's going to be it for the review for the Falkor Blitz, you guys. Hopefully you enjoy. Go ahead and check out the shooting test and the unboxing for this gun, and some gameplay where I went ahead and used it. So leave a like, subscribe for more. All the links and information about this gun will be in the description below, so check that out. I will see you guys in the next video. Later.